Hello again, and thank you for watching this video. It's probably one of the most important videos you've watched about the TOEFL all year. And I'm going to tell you about these 10 things that I've been seeing recently in my posts on my Facebook channel, on my Instagram, that are crucial for you to know to pass this current TOEFL IBT. So let's get into the 10 things that you must know before you take your next TOEFL IBT. Take a look. The main thing you need to know about the TOEFL IBT testing centers and the home edition is test security. Now, you might think, Mr. I don't need to know about any of this stuff, but there are things that you may be doing that seem innocent to you, but to the test centers and the proctors for the home test, they see it as cheating. Knowledge is power. Let's get to know what ETS thinks about test security. Number one, test security is extremely important because it helps ensure that scores are valid and fair for everyone. Thereby, ETS has established policies and procedures that test centers, proctors, and test takers must know. This is important. Let's move on. Number two, policies and violations. If you do not follow the instructions of the test administrator or proctor, you won't be permitted to test, and your test fee won't be refunded. Any violation of security procedures during the test may result in dismissal from the test, cancellation of your test scores, and or notifying the appropriate authorities. Reports of cheating or fraud will be investigated thoroughly, and offenders may be prosecuted to the full extent of applicable law. Now, I know this sounds serious, and believe me, it is. Over the past years, people may have gotten away with some things, but right now, at the end of this test, they are watching everything. They want to make sure that as many people as possible take that new test on January 21st. So you want to make sure that you don't give ETS any opportunity to cancel your scores or to question your scores. That's why I'm making this video for you right now, so that you understand that this is a serious situation. We don't want to make any mistakes. And these are the common things that I hear from my students and I see on other YouTube videos that cost people their scores and their future. So let's continue. Listen up. This could apply to you or someone you know. Take a look. Violations include, but are not limited to, the following: taking or attempting to take the test or part of a test for someone else, or having or attempting to have someone else take the test or part of the test for you. Failing to provide acceptable identification, including refusing to allow your photograph to be taken. This is important. When you go into the testing center, they will require you to give the ID that you use to make your account. So make sure that you have the identification that you use to create your ETS TOEFL account when you get to the testing center. I apologize for this being off center, but hey, I'm a TOEFL master, not a PDF master. However, the information is important. Obtaining improper access to test content or other information about the test. This includes having test questions or answers in advance of the test administration, or bringing pre-knowledge of any test information into the test center in any form, including but not limited to ID documents, prohibited devices, and any other item used as an aid in connection with the test. Now, I'm sure that you're not someone who would cheat on the TOEFL IBT. However, I have seen a lot of people right now selling the answers to the next TOEFL. I've seen people selling TOEFL certificates. I've seen people offering to take the test for you. These are all very tempting at this point when we're at the last moments where you can take the test. There are cameras in all of these testing centers. If you know how to take the test, how to answer the questions quickly and accurately, you can score more than 100 on your TOEFL iBT this time. No matter how many times you failed in the past, you can pass your TOEFL iBT in 30 days using the methods that I teach. But let's continue on to see what other things is ETS looking for at the testing centers, using any object as an aid in connection with the test, including, without limitation, phones, tablets, watches, pens, scan pens, or other scanning devices, calculators, books, pamphlets, notes, unauthorized scratch paper, rulers, highlighted pens, dictionaries, test preparation materials, translators, or any electronic scanning, listening, recording, photographic, or wearable device, right? Any writing, test related information on clothing, footwear, ID documents, or any parts of the body. Do not try to sneak information in there. They will catch you. And security is high. Using the scratch paper provided or notes of any kind to prepare your writing responses ahead of time. Now, wait a minute. Go in there knowing how to take the test with confidence and pass it, right? That's what you learn in my course. How do you answer those questions that are almost impossible? How do you write in the way that gets you a high score automatically, even if you have intermediate English skills? Let's continue on. Attempting to remove scratch paper or a piece of scratch paper from the testing room, or using scratch paper before the test or between test sections. Removing or attempting to remove test content from the test center. Under no circumstances may test content or any part of the test content be removed, reduced, transmitted, and or disclosed by any means. For example, hard copy, verbally, electronically, to any person or entity, and that includes smart glasses. All right. Also, tampering with a computer. And this is all official, by the way. This comes directly from a bulletin that recently came from ETS, and I am including the link to that bulletin in the description below. Let's continue on. Taking excessive or extended unscheduled breaks during the test. Test center administrators are required to strictly monitor unscheduled breaks and report test takers who take excessive or extended breaks. Whew, I got to take a minute to talk about this, because maybe you get nervous during the test and you have to go to the bathroom. And, that happens. We get nervous stomach in big issues like this test, like the TOEFL iBT. On the TOEFL right now, there are no breaks. If you need to go to the bathroom, go before or after, not during. Okay, toughen up. Let's get through this so you can pass this test this one time, be done with it, and get on with living a successful life. Let's continue. Creating a disturbance. The test administrator has sole discretion in determining what constitutes disruptive behavior. All right, I've got to take a moment to talk about this, because I've heard so many horror stories from students who have run out of scratch paper between the listening and the speaking section, or between the speaking and the writing section, and they raise their hand for the proctor to come and give them more paper, and the proctor doesn't come. And they're sitting there. The clock is running, the test is running, and they have no way to take notes. It's very frustrating. And you want to say something, and these proctors don't listen to you. All right. So when you're writing, I want you to take your 2 pieces of paper that they give you, 2 pieces of paper, fold them in half, and fold them in half again. Okay. So that gives you a quarter of a sheet, right? So for 1 piece of paper, you actually get 8 sheets of paper to write on. Practice writing smaller so you can actually fit all the information you need into those pages. So being aware of the things that could happen empowers you to prepare before you go into the testing center. And that's why I'm doing this video right now. Let's continue. Speaking of scratch paper, the test center administrator will provide you with pencils and scratch paper. You may not bring your own scratch paper to the test. You can't request more scratch paper until you've used and returned all the pages you initially received. Did you hear what I said? You can't ask for more scratch paper before the scratch paper you've used is fully covered. All right, so can't bring your own scratch paper, not even a little sliver of paper, and you can't ask for scratch paper until the paper they've given you is fully used up. Let's see what else that these people have to say. You may not write on anything other than the scratch paper provided. For example, the computer, workstation, or your ID document. Scratch paper is not to be used before the test, between sections, or during breaks. And at the end of the test session, you will be required to return all scratch paper in its entirety to the test center administrator. Again, allow me to clarify. This scratch paper deal, that it's incredible how much attention they pay to scratch paper, but it's about security. You can't ask for more scratch paper until you've used up all your scratch paper. You have to return all of your scratch paper before you get new scratch paper. You cannot write on the desktop. Let's say that you ran out of scratch paper. You've put up your hand. No one's coming. So you take notes on the desk because you have to take notes and they're not coming. Guess what? In ETS's mind, you just cheated. It doesn't matter whether you're cheating or not. These are the rules. And if you break the rules, they just don't give you another chance, period. So let's see what else you need to know to protect yourself the next time you go to the TOEFL testing center. Number 4, on test day, arrival and check-in at the test center. For tests at the test center, you must arrive at least 30 minutes before your assigned time to allow for check-in process. If you arrive or check in after your assigned time, you won't be able to take the test and your test fee won't be refunded. What? If you arrive late, you won't be able to test and your test fee won't be refunded? That is exactly true. So I tell you the night before, prepare. Lay out all of your clothes, get everything you need, get your ID that you need to sign in for the test, get it ready. And go to the testing center an hour or 2 hours early. Why? You don't know, along the way there might be a car accident. You might get a flat tire. You don't know. So prepare and go way early. Be the first person to get there, because I'm going to tell you something else. Some of these centers have really terrible computers. They have some good computers that work really well, and then they have some that don't work so well and they keep breaking down. You don't want to be the person that gets that computer that keeps breaking down. You want to be the first person to get the best computer. You want to go in there while people are still happy, give them their ID, and be very nice to these people because they hold your life in their hands. Whether it's fair or not is irrelevant. Don't be so nice that they're suspicious, but be respectful. Let's continue on. Now, I don't know why I should have to say this, but friends, relatives, and other visitors are not allowed to wait in the test center or be in contact with you while you are taking the test or during the breaks, unless you're 15 years or younger. Be prepared to undergo security measures, which may include the use of electronic scanning devices such as handheld metal detector wands, and visual inspection or unauthorized testing aids or wearable technology. If someone brings you to the test, tell them to go have some coffee somewhere else, okay? Or go sit at the mall or do something else away from the testing center. I'm just saying, be aware and be prepared. Let's look at number 5, I think. Number 5, ID verification. In addition to your required ID verification at the testing center may include photographing or video surveillance. This is so serious you can't believe it. So you may be photographed and you definitely will be videoed. Fingerprinting, thumbprinting. I don't know of anyone who's had this signature comparison. This is all about people in the past who have taken a test for someone else. Biometric voice and photo identification. and other forms of electronic confirmation. This company is extremely serious about their test security. Let's continue. Number 6, I've said this before, breaks. There are no scheduled breaks in the TOEFL iBT test. Let me say this aloud. It's a 2-hour test you're about to go into. It makes you very nervous. You may be drinking coffee just before you go in to stay awake because it's an early test. Well, there are no breaks. So if you get nervous and you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the test, don't. I'm just saying right now, like I said before, don't drink an hour before the test. Make sure you go to the bathroom. There are bathrooms at the testing centers. Go to the bathroom, okay? And if you have to go during the test, hold it. I'm just saying, hold it. I know it's hard, but do it and finish your test, okay? Because you have to come back and test again anyway. If you go to the bathroom during the test, there's a very good chance that they're going to cancel your scores. You have to test again. They won't count it as cheating, but it's an unscheduled break and they'll cancel your scores. So 2-hour test, no breaks. Be prepared. Let's look at the next. Number 7, canceling your scores. Let me stop for a moment because I've had so many issues with this over the years that in the last few years, ETS has defaulted to canceling your scores. So you take your test and you click continue. And then you find out, what happened? Where's my scores? Oh, I canceled them. I didn't mean to. Well, now you have to reinstate your scores and you have to pay to do that. To avoid these frustrating situations, be aware at the end of your test, you will have the option to keep your scores or cancel your scores. Take a moment and look at the screen and read it and be careful that you keep your scores. Okay, now if your scores are really low, and you want to cancel them, fine, do that. But be careful at the end of the test because you may have a great score and then click and they're gone. Let's see what else goes with this canceling of the scores. If you choose to cancel your scores, you must cancel all sections. You have to cancel the whole test. It's all or nothing. And if you choose to have your scores reported, they become part of your record and will be reported to you and any score recipients you designated. Once you choose to report your scores, they cannot be canceled. And if you choose to cancel your scores, they won't be reported to you or to any recipients, and you won't get a refund. ETS will report your scores. It's an amazing company. It's amazing how well they do things, and they're very beneficial. But some of the stuff that they have as policies for keeping your money and canceling your scores really do bother me. So the only protection we have is to know what they can do, what they will do, and protect ourselves through that knowledge. When you're accepting your scores, they are valid for 2 years to send to any organization that you want to. All right, let's continue on. Number 8, plagiarism. Plagiarism. This is a big deal, and I mean huge, huge. Let me explain to you what plagiarism is. Plagiarism is simply when you quote someone, but you don't say who that someone was that made that quote. That's plagiarism. Now, if you put the person's name, it's no longer plagiarism. You're quoting that person. So state your source. There's many tutors that are teaching that you have to paraphrase everything to avoid plagiarism. That is not true. You have to state your source. The reading stated, the professor said. Once you state your source, you can state what they said nearly verbatim. If you don't state your source and you actually paraphrase something, but you don't paraphrase it enough, it's still plagiarism. I know there's some fine lines between here. And if you don't know, you need to know. And I teach you all about that in my course. I know I'm saying about my course again, but everything that I teach you in my course is designed to help you pass your TOEFL iBT in 30 days with a score of over 100. And most of my students, even when they come to me with scores of 82. in just a couple of months, they can score over 100 because I'm teaching you exactly what the test rules are and exactly what the speaking and writing graders want from you. I'm not using templates. Let's talk about those templates for a moment. Check this out. Keep in mind that what I have here on the screen is directly from ETS. I said that earlier. It's from the new ETS bulletin. Listen to what this says about plagiarism. ETS reserves the right to cancel your scores if, in its judgment, there is evidence that a writing or speaking response includes text that is substantially similar to that found in other TOEFL test responses, or quotations or paraphrasing of language or ideas from published or unpublished sources, including sources from the internet or sources provided by any third party, is used without attribution. That attribution means stating the source. Such responses don't reflect the independent speaking or compositional writing skills that the test is designed to measure. Now, what this is saying is don't use templates. I know this is where I lose like 65% of my viewers. When I say don't use templates, they drop off because that's all they want to do is use templates or use vocabulary words, right, that they got from some source. Don't use templates because ETS is a huge corporation. They know, and with AI especially, they know everything that's out there. And if you use templates, you will get a low score and you will have to test again if you're lucky. So let's get on with what ETS has to say that you need to do to pass your next TOEFL test. Take a look. Number 9, testing irregularities. Testing irregularities refer to problems with the administration of a test. Testing irregularities can result from the actions of test takers, test center administrators, ETS, or natural or man-made causes. When testing irregularities occur, they may affect an individual or groups of test takers. Such problems include, without limitation, administrative errors, such as improper timing, improper seating, defective materials such as improper test forms or defective equipment, improper access to test content, and other disruptions of test administration such as natural disasters or other emergencies. When testing irregularities occur, ETS may decline to score the test or cancel the test scores. When it is appropriate to do so, test takers will be given the opportunity to take the test again without charge as soon as reasonably possible. All right, I don't know if you've taken the test before or if you've experienced any problems at the testing center, especially electronic problems or problems with the internet. Many of my students have gone to the testing center. One recently went in California and the power was out for hours. And finally, they opened the testing center 3 hours later. She was so distraught. She couldn't take the test, but they were insisting that she did. Well, that's a problem because emotionally, she is in no condition to take the test, and it's not her fault. She has the right to appeal to ETS and get a credit to take the test again later for free. When you're sitting at your test and your computer locks up for 3 or 4 minutes and then it comes back on and the test is still going and you missed 3 minutes of the test, the proctor is going to tell you, keep testing. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. Don't. If anything happens on your test that makes it unfair for you to be able to continue, you raise your hand, call the proctor over and say, it's unfair. I want to report this and I want to reschedule the test again later. And if they don't allow you, because they can get pretty, I've heard some stories, okay? Don't yell at them. Get their name. Don't cause a front. Remember what we said earlier? instances, your behavior at the testing center, I know you get frustrated, but don't get upset. Just take their name and go out of the testing center and email ETS. What happened? What happened with your computer? What happened when you try to report it? Who the person you reported to, their behavior, their response, and that you want to have your test rescheduled and you want to have it paid for, right? That they pay for it, right? They'll give you a voucher to pay for it. So these are things that maybe have happened to you in the past and you didn't know, right? But in the future, should these things happen, you're the boss, okay? Make sure that you know that you have rights during this test. It's a necessary test. And most of the time, people have no problems at all. 90% of the time, there's no problems. But for those people that have problems, it's a major issue. And I'm here to help you with that. Let's move on. Let's take a look at what's next. Number 10, invalid scores. ETS may also cancel your scores if, in its judgment, there is substantial evidence that they're invalid for any other reason. Substantial evidence means evidence that it is sufficient to persuade a reasonable person. The substantial evidence standard is lower. For example, it requires less proof than the reasonable doubt, clear and convincing, or preponderance of the evidence standards. Evidence of invalid scores may include, without limitation, discrepant handwriting, discrepant photographs, unusual answer patterns, or inconsistent performance on different parts of the test. Score cancellation decisions are not subject to appeal to ETS for test takers within the United States. Before canceling scores based on substantial evidence of invalidity, ETS notifies the test taker in writing about its concerns, gives the test taker an opportunity to submit information that addresses those concerns, considers any such information submitted, and offers the test taker a choice of options. The options may include voluntary score cancellation, a voucher for a future test, or arbitration in accordance with the ETS standard arbitration agreement. The arbitration option is available only to test takers who test in the United States at the time of testing. If at any time before, during, or after a view of questionable scores, ETS finds that misconduct has occurred under the connection with a test, ETS may treat the matter under its misconduct procedures. In that event, the options available under the rescheduling and canceling by ETS or the testing irregularities section as applicable will not be available even if those options were previously offered. Okay, that's a long-winded way of saying that should they determine that it's reasonably determinable that you have cheated somehow, and that means they ask the proctor if you cheated, and the proctor says, yeah, seems like they cheated to me. That's enough for ETS to cancel your scores and accuse you of cheating, and this is a very serious offense. All right, so we want to make sure that you are aware of the different behavior that you need to have while at the testing center, and that you don't take any chances that they may perceive that you've cheated and cancel your scores and then cause a world of hurt for you. All right, that's it for this video. I hope it hasn't been too disturbing for you. I will say this at the end on a positive note. You can pass your TOEFL iBT without any thoughts of cheating. All you have to do is know how the test works and know the procedures and rules that you must use to answer the questions quickly and accurately. You need to know how to behave at the testing center and what kind of behavior they think is not acceptable. I teach you all of these things in my online TOEFL video course. The link is in the description below with the link to the bulletin that I've just gone over. You want to make sure that you know exactly how to answer the questions quickly and accurately so you don't have to take the test again. Been doing this for a long time. I don't teach what other people teach. I teach you according to my knowledge of how the TOEFL works, of having been working with this and working with my students directly for the last 19 years. I'm not an actor. You may have noticed that I'm not a pretty person. I'm not reading a teleprompter. I don't have fancy lighting. I don't have a fancy editor. My stuff that I present is like a regular professor would present. Why? That's what I am. I know how hard it is that you've worked. I know the sacrifices you've made. I know how important it is for you to pass this test and to get on with your life. And I believe in you and I want you to pass. So share this video with others and help another person out. And remember that you will be rewarded for those that you help. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next.